Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Happy Monday to you all. It is a Monday following 2 wins for the Bearcats basketball team. That's right, not 1, but 2, including one very big one. We're going to talk about all of that. It's also a Monday following numerous new additions from the transfer portal as well as onto the coaching staff for the football team. A couple good ones, too. We're going to talk about that. But it's also a merry Monday as well as beautiful Christmas. Only a couple days away. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the guys, the pals, the crew, the squad to talk about some things before we talk about Christmas. That's right. Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, and Keegan Nickerson. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good. Royer started Christmas break a day early. He lost his calendar. He doesn't know that today is Monday. He thought it was Sunday. So he's in Columbus at a hockey game.
It's a good problem to have.
That I'm guessing on his ticket said Monday,
right?
December 22nd or
family group chat probably said y'all want to go to the hockey game on Monday. Maybe maybe a little mix of like, hey, how you guys want to watch the Bengals game on Sunday together, and then maybe we can do something Monday night. But who knows, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was Sunday. It felt like Sunday all day, but I knew it was Monday.
I don't know. With as much as Brent texts him, I don't know how this got lost in translation. It's crazy.
Well, to be honest with you, he actually asked me. He was like, "Yo, like, what would be a good text to get out of the BBP on Monday?" And I said, "Dude, just wait, just wait 5 minutes before we go on air. Text the group and say you thought it was Sunday, and you'll be good." And he did that. And
classic Royer.
He's good.
I'm good. Got a couple last minute things done today. I think we're all set and ready to go. Went out and got the ham and all the ingredients for the mac and cheese on Wednesday. Got I'm in for Tony tomorrow on Cincy 360. So not going to be able to really get anything done tomorrow. Got everything knocked out today. Got 2 family things tomorrow night, 3 family things on Wednesday. So it's going to be busy coming up here the next couple of days, but it's good. It's good.
You can do all Christmas carols tomorrow on air. That'd be good. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think that's the plan.
I feel like you have a decent singing voice, Chad. Well, I know Aaron was in the baritones, but I feel like you got a pretty good one too.
I got a decent singing voice. I was in a school musical back in high school.
Same here. Wow.
Sound of Music. Can you guess which part I played?
No.
I was the soldier that made out with the oldest Von Trapp daughter.
Oh, I was gonna say you were door holder number 3.
Of course. But, that's what I was gonna say, Brent.
Hey,
stage. Let's go.
We're locked in already.
The bromance is already flowing from these two. All you got to do is be in that box down there, and you got a bromance with Brent.
I was literally gonna say door holder number 3.
Yeah.
Feature role, boys. Feature role, and I got the girl. So
wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I played the lead role in Cinderella All Messed Up, and I did a fantastic job. But that's where my acting career went to the wayside. But yes, Chad, all carols tomorrow. I'm excited to hear it as you bring in the holiday cheer. Gosh, you're no Scrooge. You are.
Maybe I'll put that on the old BCJ TikTok. Me singing Christmas carols.
Oh, okay. We're up to what, 500,000 followers on TikTok, right?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Look at that. That's big time. That's big time. Aaron, sir, how are we? How was the weekend?
Weekend was fine. Got some. Oh, I think we got all of our wrapping done. That's that's
Wow.
no small feat. And we've had Hoop on the Potty 2 days in a row, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
That is your Christmas present, sir.
I'm just saying. Now, anyway.
Golf clap for the number 2.
Yeah, that's fine. So progress.
Boom.
And we'll take that.
Okay. And any plans for
I also pooped on the potty today.
I was gonna say I made sure to make it as well. I did. No problem.
But no plans. No, not really. I mean, we already did family Christmas in Indy 2 weekends ago, and I'm just gonna be here with the kiddos.
Okay.
Christmas Day.
Okay.
Keegan, how did your dad like the basketball game yesterday?
It was awesome. He just sat there and he had a blast. I think he told me he had some Donato's pizza and a Starry is what he took advantage of being in the Champions Club seats. So shout out Bob and Phyllis.
Bob and Phyllis don't know that your dad got the tickets. They were supposed to go to my best friend and his wife. They were busy all weekend at a swimming tournament for their daughter who swims in college. So by Sunday, they were like, we're pretty worn out. I thought it would be a good reward to send it to Keegan's dad. So Keegan's dad got to go.
That was his first time in the renovated arena.
Wow.
And probably his first time in Fifth Third since it's funny. So my baseball team used to clean up Fifth Third after the games as a fundraiser. So I would give the baseball team like $500, $600. The last time we did it, they were setting up for Tommy Tuberville's introductory press conference the next day. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I don't think he'd been in Fifth Third since that day. Yeah.
Vibes were high at that introductory press conference. So that's for doggone sure. So good job cleaning up before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's impressive. Shouts to the favorites. They are exactly. You want to talk about someone that is the epitome of their last name? I'm not very young anymore, but the favorites, they are some of my favorites. There's no doubt about that. So,
we love Bob and Phyllis, and Bob also is a very good rapper.
Yes,
he's not like Aaron's presence, but you know, Bob can freestyle. Bob can ride the beat with the best of them.
Yes. Oh, there's no doubt about that. God, we should have gotten that on camera. We did not. But there would be.
I think we were all just in shock that Bob was rapping.
I know.
And you were sleeping in the back seat.
Hey man.
Or pretending to sleep. One of the two.
Man. Taking Bob's spot.
Yeah.
I was hardly working. I mean working hard back there.
So, no, it was the first one you said.
Something like that. But you know what, guys? This is the perfect podcast for you guys. Oh, Chad, I got a home field. Chad, take it away.
I mean, the home field hoodies are incredible. The softest hoodies in the game. Aaron's got his on. I had the red one on yesterday. What day is it? Is it Monday? Saturday. You see what I did there? What day is it? Sunday? No, Monday.
It's Sunday night. I'm at the Columbus Crew game.
It was. I had the red one on Saturday. Love them.
Boom.
How big of a clown is John Goodman? I mean, I like John Goodman. He was great in Roseanne. I'm a big John Goodman fan.
I love me some John Brossart. Shout to Johnny Brossart.
Making some Christmas cookies, drinking some vino, and listening to the BBP. John Brossart has never felt more like Brent. Let's go.
It might be John Brossart. Maybe
Brossart. Yeah, Brossart. Brossart, though, is very fitting for this podcast.
Because it's like, yo, John, check out my bro's art. Like, something like that. But this is the perfect podcast for you to hook up, you to listen to. If you're heading anywhere for the holiday, if you're going somewhere for a little Christmas celebration, or maybe it's a New Year's celebration. You know what else you should do before you do that, Keegan? head on over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Danco Joe.
Keegan needs to go to Danco Transmission and Auto Care.
Oh,
He's had
then
car
do
issues
it.
of late.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keegan, you get $10 off your next oil change. You get 10% off your next fixing. Danco Joe hooks it up. And, you get to dap up with Danco Joe. You get to talk about everything that's going on in Bearcat land. It's phenomenal.
Play your cards right. You go and get margaritas and Mexican with them.
That's right. That is yes, that is correct.
Big
you gotta
margaritas.
really play your cards right though. But yeah,
Big margaritas.
Danco Transition Auto Care, they'll hook you up. Just tell them, Chad sent you, Keegan sent you, Aaron sent you. If you go on special Sunday, tell them Ryan Royer sent you, and you'll get everything you need. We love Danco Transition Auto Care. Shouts to Danco Joe. But guys, we're gonna dive right into it. Basketball. We've reached the final part of the non-con is completed. A Showtime Bearcat Sunday afternoon finale, if you will, dominating fashion. But we did have two games, so we're going to talk about both. That's why it's great to have Keegan on. First off, started on Friday, and that was as Cincinnati took down the Dayton Flyers 66-59, a score that is a little not as indicative as how the game went up until the final, 4 minutes or so. But a win nonetheless. The Bearcats came out and dominated on the defensive end. They completely outmatched the physicality against the Flyers. Held a really good offensive team to a very low-scoring night. Team that had beaten a lot of good teams, hung with a lot of good teams, almost beaten some other really good teams. Bearcats were able to come out on top in this one. Chad and Aaron, you guys talked about it on the aftermath, so I'm going to pass it right down to Keegan, and I want another breakdown of Heritage Bank Arena, how the Diet Right tasted, and then, of course, I also want your overall thoughts on the game, and we'll break down a little bit more than nitty-gritty here shortly.
The Diet Right, it messed my stomach up, dude. I mean, Chad was sitting next to me, and I'm like in my chair trying to get comfortable and like stretch my stomach out. So it's not. That's
because it was
the first half.
It was actually from 1994.
I was gonna say, was there a born on date on the can? Like,
that Diet Right was older than Keegan.
Picture did scream nostalgia, but there's no way that thing was,
Yeah. I mean, Heritage Bank obviously it's not a great venue to, sit in or see a basketball game in. But regardless of that, those atmospheres where it's completely full and it's like 50-50, 55-45, that's extremely rare to be able to watch a basketball game in. It's where it's loud for whatever happens. So to be able to be in that atmosphere is awesome. And there's not a lot of college programs that have the ability to do that around the country. And UC they have Dayton and then they have Xavier, but that'll probably never be on a neutral court again, but it could. Who knows what would happen.
Right. Hey,
the game,
one swing of a mighty right fist and it'll be right back down there.
Can't call it the shootout anymore.
Don't call it shootout.
The game itself, I mean, it was like you said, they kind of controlled it for the majority of the game, except for probably the final 5 minutes when Dayton made that push. I think I saw people leaving for the Dayton side when there was 6 or 7 minutes left. I think they had gotten up to an 18-point lead with about 7 minutes left. Mm-hmm. But it was just probably their most complete effort of the season on both sides of the ball. I think being able to score as many points as they did and have people step up when Simas Lukosius doesn't have a great night was definitely telling. Jizzle James bouncing back 4 for 6 from 3. He loves that corner 3. Tyler Betsy making a big shot to swing the momentum, force Dayton to call a timeout. And then just defensively, I mean, they killed the boards on both ends, and Grant said it after the game that they couldn't figure it out. And it was basically just the size disparity. Like UC is so deep and rebounding, and they're so big. It's going to be tough for teams to go into a game and say, okay, we can out-rebound this team and beat them on the boards. And to be able to have that area of the game controlled, a completely controllable area, to have that controlled, like last year, it's going to give them a chance to win just about every game they play in. But that's when the offense has to step up and then actually put them over the top. And then Grambling State was, I expected them to play bad. And they did the complete opposite. That was another one of their most complete efforts outside of the last 2 minutes of the first half. And I think Chad had a good saying. He said, "You effed around and made it a game," and then they came out and went on like a 15-0 run for the second half, and it wasn't a game anymore. So,
what do you guys played with their food at the end of the first half? It's like, yeah, we're up big.
It seems like they have been doing that a little bit, though.
It's hard not to in bye games, like especially that. You get a little later in the year. Like, look, the Dayton thing, they were going to make shots eventually. Like that, that is too good of an offense. They are eventually going to string some possessions together offensively and make a little bit of a run at you.
Yeah.
If Cincinnati converts the lobs, it doesn't even matter that Dayton made a little bit of a run. Because then Cincinnati would have been answering regularly. But, I don't look too much into it, Brent. You're gonna get a little bored when you've done that repeatedly to the bye game opponents.
Well, like first half Xavier as well for a little bit. They had like a 13-point lead that Xavier came back, took a 1-point lead going into half. Then even in the first half against Dayton, they had a pretty sizable lead, and Dayton chipped away a little bit at it. But I think, like you're saying, eventually the other team's just going to make some shots. But Grambling, I think, man, they could have won that game by 100 if they really wanted to. But like you guys are saying, I think it just was eventually just, all of a sudden they hit a 4-point play, they get a couple of, easy buckets, and before you know it, you're only up, 14 or whatever it was at half. Man, defense. I want to go back to obviously that exhibition game against Ohio State. The very first time I saw the Bearcats starting 5 on the court against Ohio State starting 5, and yes, they didn't have Ahmad Bradshaw at that time, and I don't even know what Bradshaw's status is on the Ohio State. Seems like to be a mess.
He played the other night.
It was
his first time back in like 5 or 6 games,
and they won, and they dominated. But you could just see the size differential that Cincinnati starting 5 has, and just see the physicality that they have. And then all of a sudden, obviously, the Dan injury happens, and then
the line of the night actually came from Kelsey. As we were walking, like before the game, both teams were just kind of filtering out onto the court to start doing their pregame routine. And Kelsey looked over at the Dayton guys and she goes, "Those guys are my size." It's like, wow.
Yeah. But I think we're just starting to see, like, when Dan's back in the mix, that starting 5 is borderline elite defensively and on the boards as well. I think you saw that in stretches against Dayton, and you saw that in stretches, obviously, against Grambling. You saw that in stretches against Xavier, too, but obviously Dan was kind of still getting his feet underneath him in that one, it still seemed like. So, I don't know. I just think that could be the calling card for this team, because obviously the offense hasn't really been there, especially the shooting for the most part. So, good to see that the defense really amp up. A couple more things on Dayton real fast. Do you guys feel like they kind of flop a lot, kind of look to draw contact, and
Zed Key does
exorbitant amount? Yeah, it seems like that's kind of a bit of their calling card.
Yeah, Zed Key does, because he can't really physically overpower anyone in the post because he just doesn't have the size. So when he's going up against Arrington Page or Aziz Mendego, he kind of knows that it's going to be tough to defend him, so he's got to be able to draw a foul somehow, which is why you saw Aziz have a pretty big game.
Mm-hmm. I feel like their guards kind of fly a lot too. Whenever you kind of give them a little body bump, it just I don't know.
That's because they're widow guys.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That part
I
kind
mean,
of annoys.
I give this like analytical answer with like logic, and then chat just comes
Welcome
in
to the
from the top
BVP,
row.
Keegan.
I was gonna say, do you know
Welcome
what
to
show
the
you're on?
BVP.
Oh, please. We have great information. Come on.
I
But-
mean, Grant did say that like UC was the most physical team that they played all season. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to a point where you're down 12 and you're running out of options, start flopping and see if you can get a sympathy whistle from the ref and switch the momentum. But it didn't work.
Do you feel like even that freaking flagrant one against Aziz? Yeah, sure. He probably was a little bit like too aggressive, but that was a flop, an absolute flop. And then,
I don't know. I had seen him hand fighting in the first half. Like he was getting pissed off at Santos because I think that's who it was against. But Aziz.
I'm talking.
Hold on,
Aziz
we're
was on
mixing it up.
Zedke. Yeah.
Yeah.
AP's was on Santos.
AP
Yes,
was on
that wasn't a flagrant, which I thought it should have been a flagrant. So it was a full like arm swing toward the groin.
Aziz's
was
guy
soft.
grabbing on his arm.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you can hit him in the groin.
Yeah.
Watch yourself.
Hiya!
Protect your neck.
Yes, but I mean, either way, it was a defensive masterclass put on by Cincinnati. I think you're seeing what a Day and Jizzle combo when Jizzle has a full off season of really honing in on ball pressure looks like defensively, because those two are just, it's like, okay, the opposing point guard is probably like, gosh, Jizzle's been all over me, and then all of a sudden Day checks in, they probably in their mind are like, uh-oh. Now, yeah, pause. I agree, Aaron. Sorry. Anyway, but I saw you get all excited. I thought you were going to make a point and continue to talk analytical, but no, you were
certainly not all excited.
Nope. But yeah, it's just we've mentioned numerous times that's just a luxury to have. And Dan seems like I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place here, but Jizzle, his ability to block shots, kind of chase down blocks, seems like what Dan has really been accustomed to doing on the perimeter, and Jizzle's kind of just adding that to his, plethora of talents that he has defensively. I don't know. I'm just overly excited, obviously, with what I saw the last couple of games, even if the offense isn't quite there. You guys just think it's a matter of shots not falling is why the offense kind of looks like to be a little off at this point, because it does seem like they're getting pretty much the same looks that they were in the beginning of the season.
I don't think shots have been falling for really anybody outside that 3-point line. If your name is not Day has been putting in some work with the shot doctor, and as long as he is not taking those NBA threes, he has been shooting really well from behind the arc. Outside of that, as of late, Seamoss has not been Mr. Clutch. Jizzle's been okay. Dan's been 20%, and that's not good.
His have been bad too. I think it's still a matter of getting his legs underneath him and getting back in the swing of things. He's missing them pretty bad.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that he's just not a great 3-point shooter and never has been.
That's also true. But he was pretty good at the end of last season in comparison to what he had earlier in the year. So
he shot 29% on the year last year, which is work to be done territory.
Mid.
Yeah, it's below mid.
Yeah.
Below mid.
But that's what I was talking about the other night, Brent. I don't know if you heard when Chad and I were doing the show, but I was talking about even with Seamoss, like I wonder if maybe he needs to do some of that Euro stuff, get inside and just get a basket to fall, as opposed to just chucking up threes, doing the NBA thing and waiting for one to drop. Like, yeah. I don't know. I would like to see him go to the cup a little bit more, especially when you're having nights where against Dayton, 4 of 17, against Grambling State, 2 of 7. He at least settled down, but 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. Like, just do something different. Get one to fall and get that confidence and be able to go back behind the line, and then maybe it starts to fall a little bit different. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Aaron, I think a good point there against X and Dayton, there's not shot blockers. So be more aggressive playing downhill. Like, play off of the fact that they're treating you as one of the best 3-point threats in college basketball. Pump fake, get them in the air, get them off their balance, and then attack a little bit more early, and then use that to set up. Because they're going to take threes. Like, they're not a team that's shooting an insane amount of threes. They're kind of in the middle of college basketball in 3-point shots attempted per game. They're not firing up threes willy-nilly just to, they're not Mark Pope at Kentucky, like 40 threes a game, and we're going to live and die by it. But I think early it does make some sense to be a little bit more aggressive downhill, set the tone that way, and then expand out from there, as opposed to trying to get hot right off the jump from 3 and then use that to stretch out the defense.
It's just concerning going into Big 12 play if you're going to continue to hit 28%, which is what you're at 27.6 against Dayton and 28.1 against Grambling. That's, for me anyway. I'm all over the place on this podcast. Not in love with the 3 as some people are, but I'm okay with 3s. Just, you got to be making a better clip than 28%.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. You damn better, because that would be
at 33s a game. At 33s a game, that's a lot of wasted shots.
Right. No, I agree, but at this point as well, now that Dan's back and now that his feet are getting underneath him, and now he is going to have a little bit longer, those 3s I'm a little bit more okay with, because of his ability to attack the offensive glass and ability to keep missed shots alive. So, I mean, if they were doing all this and they were not rebounding the basketball as well, then I'd be like, yeah, we need to just stop shooting 3s for the most part. But with the addition of Dan back and his ability to just, I mean, you look at those opening segments against Dayton, and you're just like, what in the world is going on? It's just offensive rebound after offensive rebound, offensive rebound, stick back. Like, that was Cincinnati's calling card. I keep saying that dang phrase. That was Cincinnati's go-to during the beginning of that Dayton game, and it really kind of set the tone that they were going to be like, okay, we're going to out-physical you. Our shots aren't falling at a supremely high level, so we're going to beat you in numerous other ways. And so, yes, need to start making more 3s, but having Dan back in the fold at this level is really good to see too. I mean, he finished with 17 points in that game, didn't hit a 3, but had just all those Dan type plays. Chad calls him, the Tasmanian devil.
Dan.
And so he affects the game in so many ways, and it's fun to see. His one play where he blocked the guy from behind, and then got Jizzle. No, I think Day passed it up to him, and then he kind of was able to knife into the lane and do the little nifty little no look pass to Seamoss for the land. That's Dan. That is Dan Skillings right there. So more of that, please. First, last thing before we hop into first non-con talk. Your guys' favorite dunk from Sunday. I know what mine is.
Yeah.
The poster, yeah.
The poster, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. The windmill was nice, and Aaron Doster got a fantastic shot. I don't know if you've seen Dan Hord's retweet of Doster's shot, which was
from
incredible.
above.
Yeah. From the catwalk, on the windmill, but the poster was still the better of the two.
Yes, I agree. I agree, but got to give some love.
Aziz reverse lob wasn't too bad either.
No, it wasn't.
That's the second time. That's the second time in what, 2-3 weeks.
And then he did it like a couple plays later and got fouled. What the heck? And Aziz is also. I mean, we can't discount it. Let's just do it. Okay, non-con is done, guys. They finished 10-1. Obviously, I was hoping that there would be, an 11-0 start, and I do think that if Dan was healthy for the entire non-con, I do think it would have been an 11-0 non-conference slate. So, either way, the one loss at Villanova, I don't listen to what Goody has to say. I do believe that it will probably finish at a quad one loss, which is there's no such thing as a bad quad one loss. And so that is what it is. Quickly, guys, do you know the last time that the Bearcats finished a non-conference slate with only one loss or
12?
less?
2012?
Do tell.
Chad, 2012? Are you saying it happened
12,
in the year
13.
2012? 2012, 13. Good job. Do you know the one loss that they had? It was on the road.
Iowa State.
Well, I think I might.
Wasn't Iowa State.
Keegan, what you got?
Is it New Mexico State?
At New Mexico. No,
Yeah.
just New Mexico. At New
I
Mexico.
watched
they
that
started the
game.
season- Yeah.
I think I might have broken my phone after they lost.
Oh my God. I hated that.
They were 13-0 and then lost.
Yeah. I hated that game. Yeah.
That was
but
the
yeah,
game
that
that
was-
made Keegan. That was the game that made Keegan go to Indiana.
Butler buzzer beater.
I was Kashmir Wright and Jaquan Parker senior year, Shek Mouge as well for those keeping track. But yeah, started the season 12-0, ended up losing that game at New Mexico. Obviously went to the tournament, lost to Creighton. Doug McDermott in Creighton. But yeah, so obviously this has something that hasn't happened in a while, is only finishing the non-con slate with only one loss. So a good job rolling in. You've got 1-1 in the first quadrant. That win against Dayton is going to hold large all the way for the rest of the season. So good win on you there. I guess as far as just wins and losses, you guys all in saying about what was expected, and you're okay with just the win-loss side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this team is like top 5, like they're gonna roll through the non-conference. Like I fully expected, we talked about this beginning of the season. I expected there to be at least like one bump in the road. Even, and then you add in Dan being injured, that increases that likelihood. When your most impactful player misses a month, 5 weeks, whatever it was, it increases the odds that something goofy is going to happen. But if you look at it, they didn't really play with their food in any of the bye games. Like they were all, NKU was close right at the start of the second half, and then they pulled away there. They did what they were supposed to do. Howard was weird, but they still they won by enough. Like it wasn't like it was like a 7-point win or something. Right. I would go. I was thinking about this earlier. I think I'd go A-.
Okay.
On the non-conference grade, if we're going to grade how they performed in the non-conference, especially when you factor in not having Dan out of their control.
Yeah.
I think they managed everything pretty well, and I think they beat Nova if they have Dan, especially the way that we have seen the defense look over the past, week and a half with Dan back. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's what I expected in terms of defense and rebounding from this team. They are thumping teams on the glass right now, and it is impressive.
It is. Keegan, your rough grade on the non-con.
Chad, in the A-, do you factor in the quality of the non-conference slate, or is it just how they performed with their schedule?
For me, it's just how they performed. I mean, that's something that's, the way the schedule is constructed, the players don't really have any say over that. I mean,
right.
The coaching staff does, but just from performance, I would go A-.
Yeah, I think I don't want to do the same, but it does make sense, especially because they're playing within their identity so well and how well they're playing on defense and on the glass. I think the Georgia Tech win is being overlooked, which I know Georgia Tech isn't great, but you're still in a different arena and a different state, and you just took them to task.
Well, yeah,
That's why it gets overlooked, is because they beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Well, but it was also in front of a packed house. I mean,
yeah.
That makes it even more difficult.
That was like Mackey, Purdue, Indiana level. That place was bouncing.
We'll just go without. I think we're fine.
Oh, please.
I would probably say A- as well. I was between A- and B+. But when you factor in the context of Dan didn't play against Villanova, I don't know if that makes it a win, but it's definitely like last minute that game probably comes down to. Plus, I don't know how much guarding he would have done of Dixon, but
I just think he would have just held on the glass. I mean, like Luka Poplar got most points by grabbing an offensive rebound and then getting fouled or sticking it back. And so just the other ways he affects the game. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'd say A-, 10-1. I mean, it was a bold prediction for me for them to go 11-0 and be ranked number 10. And like you kind of said about quad one loss, I don't see that as a horrible loss, like what Goodman said, like losing at Villanova during your first test is a horrible loss. I don't see that. And I think that'll be vindicated by the end of the season.
I'll go actual A. You beat Xavier. Let's not forget that. It's been a long time since you have beaten Xavier, and you beat Xavier, and you did it in a close game. And despite what you want to think that, Cincinnati should have taken them to task, I don't give a shit. You beat Xavier, and you did it at home. You did it in front of the crowd. That's big. That's better than an A-, in my opinion, alone. Taking care of business. Now, if you had finished undefeated, there's an A+. But you beat Xavier. You beat Dayton. You lost to Nova on the road. Okay. We all thought that you're probably going to lose one. So you performed to task to what we all thought was going to happen anyway. So I'm okay giving them an A. I think an A-. I'm respecting the A-. It's just not what I'm going to give them because you beat Xavier. And everybody wants to talk about, we'll trade in the win for Xavier for the tournament. I'm not talking about that, but I think that elevates it a little bit. And like I said, it was in a close game, and we don't win those games ever.
Bah humbug, no more. Wow, that was nice, Aaron. Very good, very good. I wish this was Around the Horn. You know, that little show that it just aired for the final time. I'd be giving the ding ding the clicks ups for Aaron. You know, quick fun fact: my mom teaches Tony Reale, who was the host of Around the Horn, teaches his nephew. How about that for a fun fact?
Well, does that mean that we can start dropping? We can just start doing those things since they're no longer the rights.
I think we should have like an Around the Horn episode.
The thing is, I invented that show 6 months before that show aired on television.
That's getting all the royalties. What the heck's going on?
That's this show right here. Aaron's going to put the picture up. I was the Tony Reale of TV before Tony Reale was the Tony Reale. Is it gone? There it is.
Gosh.
Wait,
that was Around the Horn before Around the Horn.
I thought you were like at the scorer's table for a basketball game in that picture.
Nope. Yeah. Nope. It was a TV show called Game Time that I created back in like 2002, 01.
Yeah.
2001, somewhere in there.
I thought you were getting ready to tell a young lad, hey, I think you should try a size 6 at Foot Locker, right? Isn't that what you're doing?
Look, Brent, the difference between this picture and Chad now is like 7 7/8 hat size now versus 7 1/4.
Yeah, right.
No, I was still 7 7. My head didn't get big when I got fat. My head stayed the exact same. It just filled out.
Right. as heads tend to do.
I
All
had a
right.
giant head when I was skinny.
I like it, Aaron. I like
That's
it.
why I got fat. I just wanted to proportionalize myself better.
You know what, guys? I know this is a question in the mailbag because I was just looking ahead a little bit because I like to do that. I like to do a little bit of research for Hop on Pods. But real quick, I was gonna ask this before, so I apologize to whoever was asking it in the mailbag for taking it. But your leading scorer in the non-con, you all know it, and Chad, good job guessing it in the in the preseason so far up to this point, is CMOS Lukosius, just a tick under 15. He's at 14.9, but he is one of 4 players in double digits, averaging double figures throughout the game, throughout the season so far. And Aziz is right there at 9.6. So, offensive MVP, and then which player in the second half you want to, second half in the conference play in Big 12 play do you want to see step up their offensive game to add to who already is performing well so far in the non-conference slate? I'm going to go down to Keegan and work my way around to Chad.
Offensive
Keegan.
MVP. What?
I saw that eye roll.
CMOS is the points leader, but I think
That's
how
what
Jizzle
Mike said.
James. I think how Jizzle James has adopted the lead guard mindset is pretty good. 5.2 assists per game. So he's got a 5.2 to 1.5 assist to turnover ratio on his averages. And then he's also averaging 12 points with a 34.1 3-point percentage. And that's with obviously the outlier of the Xavier game. Yeah. So in terms of what he means to the offense and how the offense runs when it's at its best, I'm going to go with Jizzle James.
Ooh, I like it. You have a player that you want to see step up a little bit in the Big 12 play on the offensive end?
Yeah, the player that can turn this team from a maybe second weekend to probably Elite 8, Connor Hickman. Him becoming a 3-point shooter, 38-39% in Big 12 play. I'd like to see him do that.
Beautiful. Aaron?
Offensive MVP is easy for me. Dylan Mitchell flying around, doing everything that you need him to do on both ends of the floor. His defense has been really good on the defensive side of the ball.
Defense is next. Just letting you know.
We'll get there. But he's been rebounding well. The energy that he provides, especially at home games, has been top notch. He's between him and Aziz, they have made shitty lobs no longer shitty. So it's been a nice uptick. It's been the last 2 games have been a little suspect, Keegan. I'm with you.
Yeah, the Dayton game was ugly.
Dayton game was well, but Dylan's been my offensive MVP because he's not out just chucking up threes and going 4 for 38 or whatever we're doing out there. So I like scoring efficiently. And Dylan's been doing just that outside of the free throw line. And then the player that I'd like to see step up their game, and it's for the same reason that Keegan had Connor Hickman, because that takes you from being a second weekend to being a Final Four team, is Dan. Dan needs to be better than 20% from behind the 3-point line. Dan needs to be better than 3 of 10. Dan needs to be doing – granted, he does the offensive glass thing and can get that the second chance points. Score the first chance. Like, don't just chuck up a shot to chuck up a shot. Take good looks when you know you can make them. So I don't know what's been happening in practice as far as if he's been making threes or not, but we know we can make the three. He just has to improve during the game. So again, I think he's a guy who can do some things offensively that nobody else on this team can. We're just seeing him knock off the rust. So it's not necessarily a knock on throughout the entire non-con. Dan's not been good because we haven't seen him. He's only played in 4 games thus far. But in those 4 games, I still want to see more. And maybe that's is it 5 now?
Howard,
just
Xavier,
Howard
Dayton,
and Xavier,
Grambling
yeah.
State,
And then the season opener.
and Pine Bluff.
Okay. I'm selfishly I want to see more out of Dan because we've been spoiled and we saw. I don't think he's even on the level that he was at last year yet.
Okay. Chad, what you got?
Which I think for Dan is understandable because he did miss
Sure, absolutely.
6 games. I'd Seamoss as offensive MVP. He has been, even when its shots are not falling, he finds a way to get to 15, 16, 17 points and kind of be that like middle teens, you don't, because they've got 4 guys in double figures and the 5th is right there. You don't necessarily need somebody that's up near 20 every night, but you do need somebody that's 13 plus every night.
Yeah.
And that has been Seamoss. And when they, needed him in the Xavier game late, he stepped up and kind of carried the mantle to get them across the finish line.
Right.
He sparked the comeback, got them the lead, helped close it out at the free throw line. So, the answer so far has been Seamoss. Now, if he continues on the cold streak that he's been on, then, guys can catch up to him. But overall, through the first 11 games, I think it's Seamoss pretty easy. I for the guy I want to see more out of, I'll go with Dylan because I think there's potentially too many games where he's taken 3 shots, 4 shots.
Dayton game, he took what? Just 3 shots, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he is talented enough offensively to be more aggressive.
Right.
And he's so good at getting to his spot and converting in and around the rim. I think I'd like to see, instead of 4 or 5 shots a game, 7, 8 shots a game from Dylan, because he's generally going to be efficient with it. He's generally going to convert. He's going to draw contact. So I'd like to see just a little bit more from him on some of those, like, we talked about it Sunday night or Friday night, Aaron, that play where he got it at the top of the key, the C's parted, and instead of settling for a 3, he goes right down the rim, draws contact, lays it up. Like, give me a couple more of those a game, brother, because you're really good at it. And you can put the biscuit in the basket when you get at close range, even through contact. So not that I think Dylan, and you're right, Aaron, he's probably been the most outside of the free throw line, where when you start 1 for 17, you got a heck of a hole to climb out of to get that free throw percentage back up. But in terms of just his shot selection, his ability to finish, I'd like to see a little bit more aggressiveness from him. So, Seamoss and Dylan.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. Keegan, I agree on Hickman. He could be that bench X factor, because Day is just, he is rock solid, dude. Like Day is, we are not. I feel like people aren't really talking enough about Day. Like he's a guy that, I mean, what you're going to get out of him every night. And now that his shot's falling more, you're just, his game is just stepping up a whole other level. And I love the minutes that him and Jizzle are on the court together. So keep that up. But if Hickman can come in and be that guy next to Day on that second, rotations, that the second group with some AP minutes down low, with some spot Tyler Betsy minutes, man, this team is, that bench then all of a sudden looks to have a little bit of offensive firepower with it. So I agree all around. Defensive, Chad, take it away. Who's number 1?
Day Thomas. He is so good. Just absolutely frustrating and disrupting what the other team wants to do offensively. The new thing that they do, that I didn't notice it as much last year, but I'm noticing it a bunch this year. When they see the pick starting to come, they will just shift their body and just take away the screen and force them to go away from the screen, to deny the screen, like into the help position. Like, just the little things that he does that I'm sure, like, as a coach, you're like, well, let's try this. And Day does it, and you're like, huh, I didn't expect that to work.
Yeah. Teams
Like-
hate Day, by the way, which is
Oh.
awesome.
he is
It's
exactly
almost been a
like,
fight in the last 2 games.
yeah.
When he tried to dunk on Zed Key, then pointed at him, first off, really good that the refs didn't see that. Second off, baby. And what was Zed Key trying to do? Like go into the puddle afterwards? I was just like, what is going on? Relax. Take a deep breath.
I just love that intensity that he brings defensively and that ability to take you out of your offense. I think it sets the tone for everybody else. And it's one of those, like, you bring him off the bench. He is a starter level Big 12 point guard.
Yeah.
And you
Absolutely.
bring him off the bench, and all of a sudden you're just stuck in the mud. Like your offense just cannot find a rhythm. And if he continues to play like that, the Big 12 portion of the schedule is going to be quite a bit of fun as well, because teams just aren't used to that. There's not a lot of guys out there that can just take your point guard, tie him up in knots, and leave him sitting in between the circles, unable to really manufacture anything.
Yeah. Wear you out, and then all of a sudden Jizzle comes in. You're like, oh, shoot, I got to defend Jizzle downhill now.
Right.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's a better 1-2 punch at point guard in the league. Maybe not outside of like Auburn, maybe not in the country.
Yeah. It's tough. Aaron?
I'm gonna go Jizzle, only because Chad went on his soapbox for Day. But I think Jizzle has been everything we wanted from him defensively and stepping up his game this season and then some. He's been outstanding in as far as essentially it's almost like when Day comes in, it's still a ramp up, but there's not a drop off when Jizzle comes back in for Day like there was last season. It's there, he's fighting through screens. I don't know if he's been working with Day or if he has just been studying film or whatever the case may be, but we all have heard Coach West talking about just essentially there is no one who works harder day in, day out than Jizzle James. And you've seen it in spades at this point already through the non-con. Just Jizzle has stepped up his game in every area. And defense is surely one of those spots that he has stepped up in a big, big way and is making waves on this team.
And the other big thing, Aaron, is now you have this ultimate weapon
when both of them are out there
on the floor together. And just saying, good luck. You're 1, erased. You're 2, erased. Good luck running offense through your 3,
and
4,
Jizzle's
5.
blocking freaking shots now. Like, what the heck is going on?
And Wes mentioned it. It is positioning. It's using his feet and staying in front of the play. And then a guard goes up to hit a little, 7-foot jump shot, and you're not jumping over Jizzle. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah, right. Keeks?
I want to go Day, and I was almost going to go Day again, like with Chad, because of how good he's been. But I think seeing the progression that Aziz has made from last season is extremely impressive. Currently 5th in the Big 12 in blocks per game at 1.8.
Like you can get so much more too,
Yeah. I mean, Jaden Quatenitz has 3.5 blocks per game, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Which is why he was like, what was he? Was he the number 1 player in the 24 class, Chad?
He wasn't number 1, but he was up there.
Yeah, just a blue chip. Yeah. Aziz is just you're starting to see the coordination, and also kind of similar to CMOS, just being year 2 in the program, you're starting to see that swagger that he's playing with. It looks like he's having a ton of fun out there. Blocking shots, also just like you'll just see guards just run around when they see Aziz in the post, because it's like, okay, you're not scoring on him. He's such a presence down low. So I think Aziz is my defensive MVP because of how, one, rebounding, and then how he impacts the game indirectly, and just what he forces other teams to do, because he's such a force.
It's crazy. You guys mentioned all these names, which are perfectly correct, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, what about what Dylan Mitchell does? Just having length, can switch all 5 spots on the court, can
Another
hit
one.
the rim, and then you're like, oh, what about when Dan came back and held Conwell to 3 points in the first 25 minutes of the crosstown shootout? It's just, there's so many different things that are really good on the defensive side. That's why they're the 5th most efficient defense in the country right now, according to KenPom. So it's not a fluke at all. So I'm excited to see how that carries over. One last thing. Yeah.
Sorry, in addition to what I said about Aziz, there's been 2 times when a player has dove into either opposing players or fans to get loose balls, and both of them were Aziz Bandaogo. And I'm glad I was not on the receiving end of that, because it looks like it hurts a lot.
And he's not afraid to just sacrifice his body. Does it look like Aziz is bulked up too? I've recently been watching more games on TV just due to travel and a crazy life. But golly, he looks like he has just put on some mass, which obviously he needed to, which shouts to everything that he's been able to do in the offseason, of course, our boy Mike Rayfeld on top of it all as well. So defense is primo right now. And then as far as bench,
real quick, why is CJ Frederick not getting more time? Who are you taking minutes away from? Jizzle, Day, Connor Hickman, or Dan Skillings to give CJ minutes? And that is to say, CJ is certainly good enough to be on the floor. It's just that the math starts getting hard when you look at the guys that are ahead of him in the rotation. I think it was awesome to see him get out there and kind of get his feet underneath him, because I do think at some point in time in conference play, you're going to need him, a veteran guy that it's played, 100+ high major basketball games, is just a piece off the bench that, you're not using right now, but that's why. And then is he coming back next year? He is out of eligibility. So
he's what? I think they showed a graphic. He's the 5th oldest player in
college
Division I basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
He's been around a while.
So, Chad, any comments on that, on the whole Pavia thing and this whole, I see Graybush Live saying 2 more years about Day.
Well, everyone was granted a year today.
Yeah, the NCAA Division I Board of Directors granted a waiver to permit athletes who attended and competed at non-NCAA schools for 1 or more years to remain eligible and compete in 2025-26 if those athletes would have otherwise used up their final season this year. So right now, Day is free to come back next year, and I have a hard time believing he won't. Like, the dude loves it here. He is an outstanding asset to have on your team. He is the ultimate team guy. I think we'll see Day back next year. I have a hard time believing that he would leave.
Yeah. Man, I'm excited. Can't really quite hide my excitement level after this news is coming out. So shouts to Diego Pavia, man. Whoever thought you'd go from peeing on the 50-yard line to granting me another season of my boy Day Thomas in a Bearcat uniform, potentially. So, anyway, real quick, last question, just real fast around the horn. The bench, do you guys see the minutes kind of sticking the same as it has over the last, month, if you will? Take away the Grambling game. Do you see maybe more minutes for Tyler Betsy? Do you see maybe a decrease in rotation numbers throughout the conference play, kind of as a game by game scenario, as far as the bench has looked so far in the season throughout the non-con and then leading into the Big 12?
Go ahead, Keegan. You have thoughts?
Well, Wes, I asked basically why wasn't Tyler Betsy playing as much? That was the whole point of my question. And he said, I told him, like, we cut the rotation down in the second half in the past week and a half. And he said it's going to be the opposite in Big 12 play. He was very clear that they need Tyler Betsy to do what he does on the floor to be the team that they want to be in conference play. So I'm fully expecting to see more of him and more of Josh Reed as kind of that defensive option when you need it, when you need big minutes to get some guys some rest. And I think he was almost going to be the player I want to see step up, which I don't think it's because he's been playing bad by any means, but he's just so dangerous as a scoring threat.
Yeah. Chad?
I mean, I think they are at a point where they kind of have discovered that 8-man rotation, the 5 starters, Day, Connor, and AP. And then Tyler Betsy is probably 9th on that list. And I don't see, look, I know he says he wants to expand the bench in Big 12 play, but when the other teams aren't taking their best players off the floor and those guys are playing 32 minutes, I don't see the window where you say, okay, we're going to play 8 minutes of our subs against your starters.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to have your starters at 25 minutes and everybody's starters are playing 32, that means there's 7 minutes in the game where their best players are out there and your best players are on the bench.
Yeah.
I know it sounds great in theory that we want to have a 9, 10, 11-man rotation in Big 12 play, but in practice, in actuality, that's a lot of minutes to be putting their starters against your second string. I think you're still going to see, especially Jizzle, Dan, Seamoss, Dylan in that 28, 29, 30-minute range.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't leave a whole lot of bench minutes. So, if you're at 9, that's a lot of that's a lot of guys that are out there on the floor. Now, luckily, you feel like as AP gets up to speed even more, as Tyler gets up to speed even more, you're not that far off from the other team starters. But let's be honest with each other here. We would all take Jizzle, Dan, Seamoss, Dylan, and Aziz on the floor as much as humanly possible because that is Cincinnati's best chance to win. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of difference. Like, I think if you go look at Villanova, obviously you have to factor in Dan coming back in those minutes, but Xavier and Dayton, it was a 8, 9, kind of 9-man rotation, and that worked. And I think that's what we'll see most likely as we roll into Big 12 play.
Yeah. Real quick, John White's asking about AP. I think AP had a good week. I thought he looked pretty solid against Dayton for however solid he could be in the time he was out there. And then I thought he was, again, pretty solid against Grambling. So I don't know. I think he's going to have nights, obviously, where he performs better than expected, and then he's going to have a couple of plays where you're like, all right, he's a true sophomore and really only having one full season this year under his belt of extended minutes. So you guys kind of agree with that on AP? Just he's going to be able to swallow some minutes up there at the 5, and he's
going to have to continue to get better defensively.
Right.
That's really where you see the drop off with Aziz off the floor and AP on right now. If he can continue, because he's got offensive skills that they don't have another big on the roster that have the weapons offensively that AP does.
Right.
But to extend your minutes, you can't come on the floor and have the defense slip when you're out there. Not that he's been terrible, but there's more room for improvement there than maybe anybody else on the roster in terms of if he does continue to elevate during the season, he can take
Gotta
the
watch.
biggest jump.
Gotta watch those fouls too. He seems to be the one guy on the roster that gets in foul trouble more often than
Quickly,
anybody
fairly
else.
quickly. And some
Yeah.
of it, Aaron, is not being positionally sound defensively.
Yep.
And when you're not positionally sound, you're swinging for block shots instead of going straight up, or you're getting your hands on guys when you shouldn't. Is AP mid? I mean, yes, because he's a young big man at the highest level of college basketball. So yeah, that's where your starting point with him is, and now you need to advance him and develop him to be better than that.
Has he shown
flashes
flashes
of
of
it?
non-midness? Yes, as
Sure.
well. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Page.
there we go. All right, cool. Well, let's timestamp, guys. Next week, we've got a whammy show for you because we're going to break down every single game in the Big 12 slate one by one.
This timestamp brought to you by Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly, low minimum next day deliveries. They provide a wide range of food service products, to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
I have a confession to make. My dear friend Ryan Royer, he texted me earlier today. He said, "Hey, bro, what day is it?" I said, bro, it's been a long weekend, but it's almost time for the BBP because today is Sunday and tomorrow I cannot wait to see you. And then I forgot to text him again and say, dude, it's actually Monday. The BBP is today. So that means we're gonna have to riff with Keegan instead. So that's fine. Chad, you got the read.
I do have the read, and it's from New Riff, who
It's
is fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative. New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the third floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com. .com. Riffing with Nickerson.
Riffing with Nickerson. Wow.
All right, I have 3 hard-hitting, overly analytical questions.
Big J journalist
for
question.
you guys to ponder on.
Okay.
I have a basketball, and I have 2 basketballs and a football, and the football is sandwiched in between the basketball. Should I do all basketball?
Humble brag.
I think you should know. I think you should go basketball, football, because go basketball, football. That's a segue for the next segment.
Okay, okay. I have one kind of related to the next segment.
Okay,
but
like this.
It's actually a good feeder into it. Okay.
Mm.
If you could see this basketball team play any team in any college team in any arena, which team and arena would it be?
Oh, baby.
So I'm old school. Two teams immediately come to mind. The 1990 UNLV Rebels. Maybe the greatest college basketball team ever assembled.
Okay.
Or Retribution against the Fab Five.
Oh. Wow.
Very nice.
Where are you playing them?
I mean, it's got to be in the Mecca, right?
Okay.
You got
MSG?
Madison Square Garden. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the Mecca. That's if you want to see a college basketball game, that's where you want to see the college basketball game.
I mean, there's MTEs all over the place. So
Mick, JJ Rembert is redshirting, and whoever told you he's been killing it in practice, don't listen to that person. JJ's good. He's a freshman walk-on. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Aaron.
I would take this year's North Carolina team at North Carolina. That'd be a big win against a team that is losing to everybody. It'd be Wes going back to his roots, and he has way more skin in that game than North Carolina. And Jeff Goodman could shove it when Cincinnati beat North Carolina at North Carolina. Let's go.
And then North Carolina goes, maybe we got the wrong coach. And they fired Hubert Davis.
At that point, Jeff Goodman would say, well, North Carolina is actually really bad now. That's their 6th loss. The 5 wasn't bad, but the 6th one's really bad. And now I'm all the way out on them. They're not even in the top 25.
Wow. That's good. I want to see this team take on the Toon Squad. I want to see them play at Toon Stadium Arena. And I want this team to go out and be like, be beating them so much and be dominating, and then Daffy Duck be running in and saying like the Monstars stole all the talent from the NBA players. It wasn't him that said it. I think it was someone else that said it. But then it's going to be like Tweety Bird's be like, that's not the Monstars, that's the Cincinnati Bearcats. And then it's Michael Jordan's going to be like, holy moly, they're really good. That would be.
Why did you make him Italian?
Because Mike's the secret stuff.
Mamma mia.
Mamma mia.
That's a spicy meatball.
Yeah.
My Michael
Taz
Jordan
Skillings
is
Jr.
Italian.
is all over the place. Taz, can you stop him, please?
Oh my god.
That's my answer.
I'll go with the 2022-2023 Indiana Hoosiers in Assembly Hall.
Today's the day I learned Brent takes gummies.
2022-2023 Indiana Hoosiers.
So Aziz versus Trace, JHS versus Jizzle, and then in Assembly Hall, because that would be very cool for me to see. And
nobody gives a fuck about the Indiana.
Best media room in college basketball.
Is it 5?
100%. They have like 4 tables going the entire width of the room. You can sit there and type. It's amazing.
I don't think Zach's listening tonight. So
you can sit there and type. Let's go.
You see, no, they're not investing in.
At one point, Kansas used to have build your own Chipotle bowls in their media room.
Yeah,
that would swung you in that direction.
And instead, they have shepherd's pie.
Yeah, and it was freaking awesome.
It was pretty good.
We had shepherd's pie for dinner tonight.
And they had some damn good homemade cookies too, man. I've snagged about 6 of those.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Keegan.
Okay, the next basketball question, which does squeeze into this next segment.
Ready.
Which game on UC's schedule would be the most impressive win in Big 12 play?
Ooh, I know this one.
I know what Chad's going to say.
Iowa State. Yeah, at Iowa State. I think they're the best team in the league. That is a great place to play. There has been talks of a van ride to Ames, Iowa, Brent.
Oh, okay now.
Has there been?
There's been talks. There's been rumblings, discussions about a potential van trip to Ames, Iowa.
I was going to go anyway, so that saved me some money.
Hey.
I mean, the problem is finding a suitable Vrbo or Airbnb in Ames, Iowa. We might have to do. Is Iowa City? How close is Iowa City? We might have to improvise because I looked and there wasn't a whole lot of options.
Just ask Tyson White, see if he can hook it up.
Des Moines is close to.
Des Moines about Ames. 45 minutes. It's probably Overland Park to Kansas.
Hey, yo, Tyson Bite, you got your old house available still?
I am not staying in Tyson Bite's old house. Absolutely not. Not with
Um,
you. Not with you. God knows with you, Brent. You get some crazy ideas at 1 a.m.
I do actually. Luckily, I fell asleep in Lawrence, Kansas City.
As I have a blanket over my head, squeezing my ears, I can't hear what's being said.
Keegan's brain was too pure for the things that were being talked about in Kansas City.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was me, Taryn, Brent, and Bob, and then Church Boy Nickerson.
I'm sorry, Brent. One day I'll have these kids old enough to be able to make trips like that.
They're like, I thought Brett was Catholic. And I said, I am Catholic. Anyway. My answer is, well, I think the correct answer is actually a very, very good name change. I think the correct answer is Iowa State, but I'm just gonna say for theatrics reasoning, finally let's just take down Houston and Calvin Sampson, please. Like, let's do it. Let's do it on the road at their place. You know, that daggone lady that sits in the in the front row at the Frutada Center, right, Chad, and just like, you know, just constantly like just claps her hands and like waves at everyone to get up. Let's make her cry and sit down and not do that anymore.
Is it the older lady?
Yeah. Let's win at Houston.
I actually hung out with them in Memphis at the AAC tournament one year. That whole group of she was a cheerleader in like the 60s at Houston.
Oh, well, congratulations. Let's make her cheer no more. Take down the Cougars.
I'm going to say Kansas State is the most important game, just to set the tone.
Because it's the next game.
No.
Okay, Tom Allen.
To set the tone. You need to set the tone for the rest of Big 12 play. I think if you can put a nice beating on Kansas State, if you win by 12 or more, I think that you're really like starting to set a tone in the Big 12 that we're not messing around. I think if you can come out and play 40 minutes, not have the switch get turned off, not start out and have to play from behind or anything like that. If you come out the gate and have the lead for 35 plus minutes and run shit, I think that makes a big difference. And so I think that Kansas State is the most important game, not because it's the next one, but simply because it's the first one.
Okay.
Y'all hating ass.
Who you got, Keeks? What was your pick?
Houston. At Houston. I feel like that is the third box that needs to be checked in Wes Miller's tenure here. That's the other team that he has yet to beat. He beat Xavier. He beat Dayton. Go and beat Houston, who is basically, for more lack of a better term, dominated you in basically every game you've played. So that would just be a massive step in the right direction. And is that one of the last two games on their schedule?
It is.
The amount of momentum that win would create going into
the Big 12 of the last two home games, or away games rather.
If
you do have Kansas State in between Oklahoma State as the final and Houston before that.
That's massive momentum. And then if that win could possibly catapult them, maybe if everything goes to plan, into a top 5 AP team in the country. And then you beat Kansas State and Oklahoma State. You're a 1, maybe even a 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament, and you're rolling. So I think where that game is in the season.
Pass me that Kool-Aid, Keegan. Let's go, baby.
Where that game is in the season, being late and just not beating them in your tenure, I'm going to go with Houston.
Yep. Be a heck of a way to start March out. That's for sure.
Graybush over under for at ISU 100. Like 106.5. 106.5.
The rockiest of fights.
Okay, final question. Here's a football one. So If UC was to get new uniforms next year, which former uniform would you either want them to have or be closest to?
The cat scratches on the legs.
I'm surprised you answered it all. I know you generally don't like uniforms. So.
I still don't care. I'm just answering.
Chad's sitting over there. You low key love uniforms, dude. I see it. I see that twinkle in your eye when that question was asked.
I'll go with the all black with the cat scratches.
Okay.
I like anything that had the matte finish on the helmet. So if you wanted to bring back like the matte red with the reds, I'd be okay with that. If you did something with matte black, I don't know that they've had. Did they have matte black when Under Armour was here? Yeah. But I think that if you could incorporate that back in, I think that would be fun.
Okay. I like it. Give me the Jordan blocks on the side, football edition.
Ooh. All right.
That's never going to happen.
No, because they're not Jordan and
exactly.
Nike.
Same reason you're not going to get the cement sides or anything like that.
Obviously, this is a riffing with a Nickerson question that I just answered. We don't need to be all real. Okay, Keegan, what you got?
That was it.
How many are we doing? Five? Is it 5 questions or 3?
Did you
answer.
Brent, did you text Keegan or anything when you found out that he was doing these questions?
No, but I did just get a text from Royer.
I'm trying to think. I think the 08-09 cat scratches on the pants would be the best ones.
That's what I
basically
said.
I know.
Basically, whatever Chad answers, it's Keegan's answer.
All right, now I'm pissed.
That's what we call a protege.
Basically, anything different from what they have now, because there is zero personality about these uniforms.
What, you want the Lindner Center triangles back?
No, I don't care about that. That's just architecture. They just decided to put triangle windows in the building. That's not. No, I would say Bearcat scratches. Yeah, that's basically it.
I like it. I did get a text from Ryan just a little bit ago. He said, how the boys taking my initial text? Everything cool? I said, yeah, bro, you're golden. Don't worry, you're golden. I got you. And then he said, yo, that one question we were talking about this weekend that I wanted to ask. And I said, bro, remember, it's still Sunday. And he's like, I know, bro. So we were texting about it on Friday. He said, hey, it's Christmas. Christmas is here. What's your favorite Christmas movie? The boys will like that on the BBP. Whip around real fast. Favorite Christmas movie.
Probably Christmas Vacation.
Good choice.
I mean,
no, sorry, bad choice. I can't copy you. Every time I give you a compliment, I'm sucking up.
It's a horrible decision. Christmas Vacation. Hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's just it's my kind of humor. It's funny. Like I'll go Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
My favorite is The Night Before with Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie. Where
we do this every year with Aaron.
Yep.
I just remembered.
I love it. It's my favorite Christmas movie.
It is pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
Do not let your children watch it. But
no, they do all the drugs. Literally all the drugs. Seth Rogen has a box with all of the drugs from his wife.
That is correct. It's funny. It is funny. Church boy?
I'm gonna go with
Holy Night.
No. I'm gonna go with one that I feel like a lot of people haven't seen. I could be wrong.
A
with
Beautiful
this.
Life.
No.
Oh, Bethlehem.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Buddy the Elf,
Four-
what's your favorite color?
4 Christmases
Oh,
with what's his
Vince
face and Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon. Very, very
You do-
funny.
You do know that the entire generation before you did see that movie, like the whole generation. Like
I've
your
just
generation.
I've never heard it brought up in the conversation of good Christmas movies. So
Yeah.
There's
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, close second.
okay.
Ooh, all right.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is excellent. Isn't that a Thanksgiving movie?
It's
Wasn't that Thanksgiving?
snowing. I think you're right, but it's snowing, so it's Christmas.
He was thinking Home Alone, the other John Candy movie. That's what he was thinking. Yeah.
Well, the only reason I know because that's like the only Thanksgiving movie, right? When you
Yeah.
there's a million great Christmas movies.
Other than Charlie Brown.
Yeah, but I like an actual
Yeah.
full length feature film. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is like the only movie set around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you guys missed The Grinch, the live action one. It's a good one.
Didn't
I watched that today for the first time.
mid.
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 It's hilarious.
Mid.
Wasn't
You know, one
that
that
Dylan Mitchell's choice,
Yeah.
the live action Grinch movie.
Christmas with the Cranks, that's a good one. Santa
Bad
Claus, Bad
Bad
Santa.
Santa's.
Have y'all seen The Holiday?
Die Hard.
Y'all seen The
That's what
Holiday?
Coach said.
No.
Have
No.
y'all seen it?
Did
No.
you say The Holiday or Holiday?
The Holiday.
The Netflix special Holiday. I didn't know
No.
which one you were.
The Holiday. Check it out. Tear jerker. We're talking Jack Black. We're talking Jude Law. We're talking Cameron Diaz. Kate
I know what
Winslet.
you're talking about.
Oh man, it's a good one. Check it out. Check it out. That'd be up there for mine. But yeah, Royer said his favorite is the Polar Express. What a
Yeah.
guy. What a good guy.
So good.
Golly. He's all about those live action looking things. That CGI was so crazy when it first came out. So but yeah, that's the riffing. Thank you, Keegs.
Thank God.
Did a
Thank
great
God.
job there.
Quick
Thank you.
Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call our guy, Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Bang. Now, before we get in the mailbag, we didn't want to touch on football just real fast since we have Keegan and Chad here. That means we got a 1-2 punch, unlike anyone in the biz has. So, since we've been away, there's been 2 additions to the staff. First was Adam Braithwaite. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Added to the UC's defensive staff. And then, of course, Eddie Hicks added on as cornerbacks coach. And then out of the portal, it was not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 additions since we last talked. Noah Jennings, wide receiver. Jeff Caldwell, wide receiver. I'm very excited about Jeff Caldwell. Offensive lineman Nolan Latalipe. There we go. And kicker Stephen Rusnak. First off, the additions to the coaching staff. Chad and Keegan, what further can you talk about those? It seems like obviously, coming from LSU, you've got Eddie Hicks obviously has a little bit younger, quarterbacks coach, and of course also defensively. I don't know have they figured out the exact role yet for Braithwaite and kind of what he will do added to the staff.
I think the good news is they do have a connection with each other. They have worked together before. So that is a positive that these 2 guys that are going to be handling a very important aspect of the defense in this league. Because I think it's going to be interesting. This was kind of the year of the running back in the Big 12. Most of those guys are gone next year.
Mhm.
So I think it could be a little bit more pass happy in 2025. So I like the synergy of having those guys familiar with one another. It will be interesting to see exactly like what, you figure Hicks is going to coach corners. Is Braithwaite going to have the outside safeties? Vite maybe do the star position. Does Braithwaite coach all three safeties? And then you have Vite kind of like as a, more of an NFL style defensive coordinator where he can kind of bounce around and pop in on each position group, be a little bit more hands-on across the board. So I think that part of it is fascinating. Spoke to a couple people that have ties to Eddie Hicks or have worked with Eddie Hicks, and all glowing reviews. Very sharp, bright, up and coming young coach. I think people look at like, oh, well, he was an analyst at LSU. Like, that's still a pretty damn high level job to be the top defensive analyst at LSU. And as of last year, like those guys are allowed to coach now. Like it wasn't just a placeholder position. They can be on the field, they can coach. And I think that's important. I think you might see some variation of that when it comes to special teams, where maybe you have an analyst that maybe heads the bus there, and then a couple of the other assistants all take like a different aspect of special teams. This is just me, kind of thinking out loud on what the options are. But the good news is, they still they haven't been confirmed by UC. Myself and Keegan kind of, took the lead of Matt Zenith, who is outstanding. If you're not following Matt, follow Matt. He knows everything.
Notifications on.
Yeah. So was good getting to work with him a little bit on this situation. But I think it's very positive for what they were looking for. You get a guy that's got, pretty extensive experience as a defensive coordinator at lower levels that you're bringing in for safeties. You've got a guy that's young with some energy that you're bringing in at corners. Obviously I would love to have to seen D'Lo come back, but I think this was a chance for Vite to kind of put his stamp on it. He had ties to Braithwaite. Braithwaite had ties to Hicks. So I think that's why they went in the direction that they did. Keegan?
I get the analyst thing, but he has 7 years experience as a cornerbacks coach.
Right.
And 8 in terms of all defensive backs, because he was defensive backs coach at Murray State in 2015. So it is not a lack of experience. He is not out of his comfort zone in this role. He's just doing it at a bigger scale in his first full-time assistant job at a Power 5 school. When he took over at Southern Miss, which was his alma mater, I think they were the number 1 pass defense in the conference. And I think they were second in interceptions. So he's proven to produce. I think he was with Braithwaite at Charlotte. And if, Braithwaite's just going to come on and say, hey, I'm putting this much stock into that, this guy is this good, I think that says something. And lead analyst at the, now with Texas, 4th biggest SEC school, I think that's a pretty worthy step up to be the DBs or the cornerbacks coach at Cincinnati. So I'm looking forward to it. He seems, just browsing his social media, like a pretty charismatic guy, and I'm interested to see how he recruits in year 1.
Yeah. And then also the connection that Chad, you mentioned with Braithwaite to Vite, Braithwaite then to Hicks. So it's kind of like that whole triangle thing where it's like, I trust you, you trust him, we all trust each other. Sounds good. as far as the new additions, obviously, Keegan, you can kind of talk about as a whole of the additions up to this point out of the portal. We've got a kicker who was 11 for 11 this past season with a couple of bombies on his track record. Some booms, if you will, right, Aaron? I could do the boom with you this week, but I'm really excited for the most part to see what all these different wide receivers do added in with Sorsby. Jeff Caldwell was one that obviously is going to draw everyone's eye because they need 6'5". It seems like they're adding just multiple talented wide receivers, some dudes that can go up and get it, some guys that have some speed to take it over the top. I guess just overall thoughts on what you've seen so far out of the portal, Keegan. I know there's a lot of questions in the mailbag asking favorite addition, what you wanted them to do next, this, that, and the other. So we'll try and breeze through those as well. But I guess just overall view from as close as your eye gets each time that you see a new commitment, and kind of just names that you've just your thoughts on where the class is at so far.
Spit it out, Junior. Jesus.
It's a damn good question, man. You don't get that a lot around here.
I think the most exciting out of the recent four is obviously Jeff Caldwell. 1,000+ yards, especially at his frame. Watching his film and how he's able to break tackles and get yards after the catch. That's still something that X didn't really progress on this past season, which is something that he and Coach Glenn were very clear that they wanted to try to work on. And you just didn't really see that happen for him or any of their receivers except for Joe Royer at the end of the season. Steven Rusnak, like you said, if UC has a consistent kicker who's hitting 90+% of their field goals, they're probably Chad 7-5, 8-4,
Probably,
maybe.
yeah. 7-5 sounds about right, yeah.
And I think like when you look back to the big seasons that they had under Fickle, how many games did they win with game-winning field goals? I can think of East Carolina, the win over Tulsa to win the AAC when they played at Nippert during COVID.
At South Florida was a game winner.
Yeah, so like it's a underrated position, and you don't really appreciate it until you have someone that doesn't produce how you're supposed to be producing. And then you realize how important it is. So if Resnack can come in and be that guy, I think it just changes the entire outlook of the season. Latalupe getting a 6'7" tackle with a projectable frame out of the portal is huge. 281, and he'll probably get up to 300, 310. And I'd expect him to be able to compete for a starting job on an offensive line. He's the only tackle they brought in, right? Or did they bring in another one?
So, I mean, I think he is, yeah.
Tayo's a guard. Yeah.
Tayo guard, played some tackle too, but isn't he projecting guard?
Yeah.
Protecting guard, yeah. That's why I said, I mean, I think you could probably move him outside in a pinch if you had to, but I don't think you want to.
Right.
And I don't think he wants to either, because I think he knows that his stock as a professional is a guard. He's not
playing tackle at 6'4", 6'3", 6'4".
And I mean, how much do you think you saw Luke Kandra and was like, okay, let me do Luke Kandra and become an NFL player?
Oh, how tall wasn't he 6'6"? Wasn't he? He's a pretty big guard.
Who? Kandra?
Kandra, yeah. He was pretty tall. Yeah. But I could be overestimating that. The other ones, it was Noah Jennings. I think he's kind of like the Jamoy Mays archetype. He's not going to be the fastest guy. He's not the tallest guy. But from what I saw on his film, he looked like a competitor. He had posted a picture on his Instagram, and you can interpret this however you want to. But it was in the middle of the season at Charleston Southern, and like the third slide in a series of pictures was the Bugatti parked in a trailer park meme. So I sent that to some people, and I was like, this kid's pretty confident.
He's the Louis. He's the Louis. He was just hanging out in TJ Maxx. Yeah.
But yeah, so 4 pretty good additions. I love what they've done at wide receiver. You get two guys who can beat a defense, and Caleb Goody and Cyrus Allen. And you had really one last year in Tyron Smith, which just didn't pan out how they wanted it to. So they're not really leaving anything for anyone to doubt about giving Sorsby weapons. And then if Matthew McDoom can be the best corner under Satterfield so far, that would also be a very big help.
What a name.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. Anything more on that front? Obviously, there's questions in the mailbag about it, so we can kind of just wait until those. But yeah, man, it seems like wide receivers obviously been a main focal point so far.
Yeah,
and for obvious reasons. With all
get another tackle, get another defensive end, and then I think you have a pretty good.
You need another DB or two.
Yeah, especially safety. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel. All right. Well,
I think they're gonna get one more corner. I think they'll be all right because you know who I think is going to be a ball player in 2025.
Saravion Johnson.
Gravy Johnson.
Gravy Johnson. Willie Goodwin, but Gravy Johnson first. Yeah. Let's go.
Timestamp.
I think we timestamp now. Mailbag.
All right. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide a wide range of food service products, to-go containers, cups, custom-printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby.
All right. As those listening are putting together their end of fiscal year 2024, looking ahead to 2025, the mailbag is still up for grabs. If you wanted to go ahead and sponsor that, we'll do a read for you every week. Just wanted to put that out there because I'd like a raise. Moving on. Mailbag, starting off in the football portion. With the addition of a new DB and safety coach, do we anticipate them signing or attracting portal or high school recruits?
In what way? In what way?
As in, does that coach bring anybody with him?
Oh,
I'm gonna assume that's the assumption I'm making.
I don't know. In terms of Sanford,
re-upping on some ice. It really isn't how it works anymore. Like that was the old model in college football where like the assistants did all the recruiting and like, you know, I got this guy coming with me, whatever. Now it's so heavily like tilted towards the recruiting department that you pay a lot of money to be very good at their jobs. So, you know, sure, there could be like, hey, like I've got the inside track on player XYZ or whatever, and you turn them over to the recruiting department and they start like the process. But like the way that things are done has changed so drastically over the past 2-3 years that it's not really how it works anymore.
Wu-Tang said it best: cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all.
Wu-Tang.
For the children. Keegan,
For
you've
kids,
never
right?
listened to a beat of Wu-Tang in your life.
Nope.
Bob's listened to more Wu-Tang than Keegan. What will be the bigger factor in next year's gridiron success? Tyson Vite's defense continuing to progress, or Brendan Sorsby taking the next step?
Go ahead, boys.
Sorsby, because I think the defense in times where they played well, it was still up to Sorsby to be able to kind of play like he was earlier in the year, and it just didn't happen. unless you're expecting Tyson Veit to like have the best defense in the Big 12, which I mean, it would surprise me if that was the case next year. It's still going to be up to Sorsby being able to score 24, 28 points a game for them to get to that 8-4, 9-3 mark and be up for a Big 12 title game. So I think quarterback also controls so much of the confidence all over the team, not just offensively. So when you can take pressure off the defense, it benefits everyone. So I'm going to go with Sorsby.
Correct answer. That most important position on the field and at all in college sports is quarterback. So Brendan Sorsby.
The only thing I would disagree with you, Keegan, is 24 to 28 points is not enough. Like you need to get up over that 30 mark, and the only way you do that is if Sorsby takes another significant step from sophomore to junior year. So I agree with everything else. I just don't think in this league 24 to 28 points is good enough offensively to get to where we think this team needs to get to next year.
I agree with all of you saying that Brendan Sorsby needs to take that next step, especially in conference play. But more important than Tyson Veit's defense continuing to progress, I think, is special teams getting their shit together. Because my goodness, it's been a mess.
Yeah, true that.
They would have had one more win if they were at 24, 28 points. It would be TCU.
Bowling.
This was 30
Right.
plus. Yeah.
You're bowling. Yes.
Yeah, but next year we're talking about getting to 8 or so wins. I don't think 24 to 28 points is going to be enough. They need to get up above like 30.
With the current list of transfers we've gotten so far, what are the biggest holes the team still has to fill?
Keegan, you're the transfer portal expert.
Safety. You lost Josh Minkins and Derek Canteen, who had pretty good years, and you're only returning Jaquan Sanks in terms of people who played significant snaps at safety. You lost Logan Wilson.
Logan Wilson's still here, isn't he?
I thought he was out of eligibility.
No, I think he's got another year. I'm pretty sure he's got another year.
Hold on. I can't even type in Logan Wilson Cincinnati. I have to type in Logan Wilson Cincinnati Bearcats.
You could probably just put Bearcats and the Google machine would figure it out.
He spent 3 years at North Texas, 1 year ULM, opted out, Kansas State. He's a redshirt senior in 2024.
I think he's got a COVID year. I think he goes that far back.
All right.
I've heard he's got another year.
Let's do this.
Did he go to JUCO?
No, he did not go to JUCO.
Oh.
It's his name secretly, Diego Pavia.
He is not on the 2025 roster.
Okay.
So
what somebody mentioned to me that he had another season. Maybe that was wrong.
He could possibly, but if he's gone, that means 3, 4 of your most played safeties are gone. I don't know what the future holds for Marquavius Sabor if they move him outside, if they rotate him in at star with Sanks. And then I can't even remember who else was back there.
Trey Gola-Collard.
Trey Gola-Collard had a pretty decent year. I just think safety is such an important position in this defense that you have to be good there. And not only do they need to be better, but they have to get more bodies in there. Because I don't think they have a safety out of the portal yet.
Not yet.
So, and that was where they pillaged safeties out of the portal last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Who is each of y'all's favorite portal pickup so far? And what do you think our number one need still is from the portal?
We just covered that.
My favorite is
pickup
McDoom.
so far. Yeah.
Say it the right way.
McDoom.
Doom. Yes. Yes.
McDoom is definitely a good one. I'll go
Caldwell.
Caleb Goody. I'll go Caleb Goody. I think gives him a take the top off kind of, inside outside type guy that this offense just didn't really have or utilize last year. So defenses could play 15 yards and in, and that's not a good way to play offense. So I'll go Goody. And the last Goody that was here was pretty good.
It was damn good.
Used to play flag football with him.
He was better than you.
Agreed. I played defensive line. He played receiver.
You go, Aaron. Oh, you
I
asked.
already said
No, you go.
I already said
McDoom.
McDoom.
Brent, are you saying McDoom too?
I'm saying Caldwell.
Okay. I'm saying Caldwell as well. As a yak guy, as a red zone threat, I don't think X had the length that Caldwell does. And I think in terms of having a high ceiling, Caldwell has the highest ceiling out of the portal class. And maybe on the entire team right now.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. Thinking like Sorsby probably, maybe Evan Pryor in terms of how he can kill defenses, but Caldwell at 6'5" with already a 1,000-yard season. If that can translate, that's huge.
Put up some silly stats. I know it was at Lindenwood, but still.
Yeah, I think he scored touchdowns in 5 straight games to end the season. So,
with the 12-team playoff in place, what do you think USC, UCLA, Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas think about their moves to the Big Ten/SEC? Tougher paths to make the playoff, or is that offset by the conference-related dollars?
I don't think they care.
The dollars.
Yeah, I don't think they care. They're just getting more money. So the coaches and players might have an opinion, but it doesn't matter when you ask the ADs and the board of directors at the college. So I wouldn't be happy with it just from the amount of travel. I think that's stupid, especially from the Pac teams. But
I think Oregon's happy.
I was going to say 2 of those teams made the playoff. So,
yeah, I think I can't wait to watch UCLA.
The one that it's epically bad for is Oklahoma. They are irrelevant forevermore. Like they sold their soul.
Unless they're a giant killer.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of consistently being relevant, they're dead. They got no chance. No chance to be what we think of when we think of Oklahoma football. If they would have stayed in the Big 12, they would have been easily the flagship, storied program in the Big 12. And now they're just another guy. They're a complete total jag.
I don't know why, Chad, but the way that you said no chance just reminded me of Vince McMahon's old walkout music.
No chance.
That's what you got.
Is that not even a Jag plus, just a Jag?
Just a Jag.
Okay.
I mean, are they better than LSU?
No.
Are they better than Ole Miss with Lane?
No.
Forget Alabama, Georgia, Texas. We're getting into the middle group, and
I don't think
Florida
Venables is a good coach.
I don't necessarily either. And
better.
Oklahoma's not exactly a talent-laden state. Now they got to go into Texas and fight all the SEC schools that are going to be recruiting Texas.
They've
because
always
you have
done
Texas and A&M. But you've introduced a different element to it now, Keegan. It used to be just the Big 12 schools recruited Texas. Now the SEC schools can come in and recruit Texas because they've got A&M and Texas there. The SEC schools did not usually take a lot out of Texas. They stayed in Florida and Georgia, South Cackalack, Louisiana. Now they can get into Texas and get those kids that Oklahoma used to like thrive on. So yeah, I think Oklahoma's in trouble long term.
Do you think they are more or less attractive to recruits now?
Less, substantially less.
Alabama's struggling with recruits right now. So
state rankings 2023.
You have to go back to like 20 to really get what I'm talking about. Like before any of this really like took hold.
All right.
But,
While Keegan looks up history, I'm going to combine
Then
these
nobody
next two
cares about.
questions.
You
Can
said
someone-
it was your argument.
I'm
I know,
gonna
but I mean,
I'm going to combine these next two questions. Can someone explain what the revenue sharing that goes into effect next year? Is that TV revenues, bowl revenues? What is it exactly? And how does revenue sharing impact NIL? I don't understand how it stops schools from having third parties pay recruits large amounts on top of revenue sharing.
so the way it works is it's supposed to be basically like ticket sales, TV money, like whatever revenue. They took all of the schools that are in the Power Four and then they averaged it and said, okay, this is the median of what all of the schools make. And then that is what revenue sharing is going to be set at, which is, I think right now, $20.5 million per year per school. That's the max that you can spend. You can spend less if you feel the need to. I don't know how you're going to survive if you do, but you can. But that's what everybody will have to work with if House goes through this spring, and then it would be in effect July 1st, 2025, that revenue sharing would officially begin. Every school can spend up to $20.5 million. When it goes into effect, like I said, that is dependent on the finalization of the House case against the NCAA. If that is all passed and whatever in the spring, it would go into effect July 1st. As far as NIL, so the guardrails they believe they have in place for this are that it's going to become quote unquote true NIL, where they're going to establish a market cap, or like, this is what somebody makes to do this. This is the going rate for somebody to advertise a car dealership or to do advertisements on their social media platform or whatever the case may be. I don't think there's a chance in hell that if that is challenged, that it will hold up in a court of law, because the way that this shit works is you are worth what somebody will pay you. And somebody that owns a car dealership in Norman, Oklahoma, believes that that quarterback that's coming in's worth is $1 million a commercial, and they take it to court. There's no way the court is siding with the NCAA, because that is what they are worth to that, like, but the reality of it is, here in Cincinnati, your market value is going to be less because there's so many more options. Like, do you think Procter & Gamble is going to get more bang for their buck using Ellie De La Cruz or Brendan Sorsby? It's Ellie De La Cruz. So you're not, but if you get into these college towns, that's all that's there. So if they feel like Heisman candidate quarterback is worth XYZ and they pay him that, the NCAA, it's not going to have a leg to stand on to say, no, that's not market cap. Like, you're paying him too much. And then the owner of the dealership says, that's what he's worth to me, because he's the Heisman candidate in Norman, Oklahoma, and he's going to, effectively drive my business that much. I just don't see any way the NCAA is going to be able to enforce, you're only allowed to make XYZ dollars off of NIL.
I'm just waiting for a college kid to have their own startup like Tom Brady did, where Robert Kraft would pay him less money on the field and then invest into his business. Weird how
Right.
that all worked, but
Yep.
all right. That's the end of the football mailbag. Let's move into the basketball mailbag where there's a ton
Which is
of questions.
massive.
A lot of them were responses, but
Sure.
we'll start off here. Who is our non-con MVP? Defend your choice. We covered it, Killer V. Listen earlier. Now that we have finished the non-con at 10-1, predict the regular season win total. As recently as 2 weeks ago, this answer was 21 or 22.
Go ahead, guys. I go first all the time. Brent, what do you predict is the Big 12 record, essentially?
Yeah,
Games.
I'll go 23.
So you're going 13-7 in Big 12 play.
Yeah.
Keegan?
Yep.
Earth to Keegan.
Are you looking at the schedule? He's totally looking at the schedule right now. Well, while you do that, I liked the number 20.
This is a live show. Like taking a
You're
4-minute timeout to do math.
You're
in your
muted,
head.
bud. You're muted.
15-5.
Woo! Woo!
I think
25.
15-5 wins the Big 12.
Yeah, they lose at BYU, at home against Kansas, on the road at Baylor. They lose at Iowa State and at Houston.
I liked 23, Brent. I'm not doing all of the who are they winning and losing to. I just want them to improve winning at home. I think that's the biggest thing you've got to improve on. You can't lose all of those games at home that they lost last year.
Yeah. That's right now I'm gonna stick with 12-8. Until I see the offense be more consistent, be a little bit more reliable against high major opponents. I think there's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be a loss or two you don't expect at home, a loss or two you don't expect on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think 12-8 probably puts you top 5 or 6 in the league. Because I think there's just going to be a lot of carnage. So I'm gonna stick with 22 for now and go 22-9 in the regular season. If they come out early in the Big 12 and it looks like the offense is turning a corner, that is subject to go up a game or two. But as it currently stands, I think 12-8 is a really successful Big 12 season.
And Chad agrees. Kansas State's the most important game on the schedule. Let's go.
What seed are they if they're 12-8 in the Big 12?
6.
5, 6, somewhere in there.
Ugh. Another Harvard matchup.
You want the 4, not the 5. We've talked about this.
23 wins. They are a 4.
All right. Do we know what happened to Victor last year? Was it an injury? Does he just struggle against better competition or something personal/mental? He's looked like the old Victor so far this year.
He just wears down. I think his body just struggles to make it through 5 months. And I think you saw that pretty regularly while he was here. Hopefully he doesn't have that issue this year because I love Vic. I think this would be an even better team if Vic was still on it than it is currently, but it is what it is. And I don't think it was anything personal or mental. I think he accumulates some injuries. His body, he doesn't seem like he's a guy that recovers real quick. Like there are some guys that genetically they hit fast forward on the recovery. Vic, it seemed like stuff lingered a little bit. A sprained ankle could last an extra week or two than it did for somebody else. And I think that wear and tear builds on him over a season. So I think that was kind of the biggest concern and something you have to take into account, like when you're building a team from one year to the next. Like you knew that about Vic because you had watched it happen here.
I'm correct in saying that Wes had to recruit him back last season, right?
To an extent. I mean, I don't think Vic really was looking to get out of Cincinnati. I think he really liked it here. I think that became this past off season. It was, I can get this much on the open market, and Cincinnati had already spent a bunch of money in retention. I think that retention money was probably tapped out, and Vic got an opportunity for a bigger payday at Clemson, and he took it.
Okay. I think we've all seen in whatever sport you watch, sometimes change of scenery is exactly what you need too.
Yeah.
So take that for what you will. If you could throw a protective veil over one Bearcat player that guaranteed he will remain healthy and play every game, who would that Bearcat player be to guarantee the highest level of success? For the team, I'm gonna say each of us gets one veil, so we can't double up on a player. So each of us gets one veil, and those 4 remain.
I'll go last. Since I go first all the time, I'll go last. I'll let you guys go first.
Dan, I think we're seeing an absolute change in the team with Dan being healthy out there. So Dan is my answer.
Day Thomas, providing bench minutes, probably the best defender on the team. And if Jizzle was going to play all those defensive minutes with Day out, I think it would be a different situation than it has been.
Aziz, because you've got to have a big. He's been playing, truthfully, the last 2 games out of his mind, and that is where you want him to be going into conference play. Let's go Aziz.
Well, there's only one player that's been hit by a car that could use the protective veil. So I'll go Simas coaches.
He might need it. Yeah.
Look, I think if you take him out, it changes the entire dynamic of the roster. You probably then have to slide Dan down to the 3. You start 2 of the guards. That takes away some of that bench pop that you get with Day and Connor coming off of the bench. It shortens your rotation. And it takes away your most consistent point producer. So they still keep score as far as I know, and the goal is to have more points than the other guy. The guy that helps them do that is Simas. He also is the most consistent shooter. He's in a slump and is still over 40% on the season. I'll go Simas, 1, for his importance, and 2, he's the only one that has proven that a protective veil would actually be beneficial.
Yeah,
if you took
took
Jizzle or Dylan in this game, you were also correct. Well done.
How awesome is it that we just said 4 different names and all 4 are pretty damn accurate? So
and there's 6 answers.
And there's 6 answers.
You're still missing 2.
Yeah, we need the veil for sure.
Part of me worries about our focus/shot selection when winning. How big of an issue could this really be, though? How often are we really going to be up big? Shit, I'm worried about our shot selection when we're losing. So I've not been impressed, truthfully, as we look at the entire non-conference as a whole. I'm a little concerned with shot selection because of the amount of NBA threes we've seen.
Yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. I think for the most part, I think it's easy. Like if they take 1 or 2 bad shots a game, I think it's easy to look at 2 out of, 40 shots and focus in on that they need to be better. And I agree that they need to take less of those shots, or especially like, you're up 11 and there's 4 minutes left and you fire a three that doesn't need to be taken. But I'm not overly stressed about it. Going into Big 12 play. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with the lobs against Dayton. Aziz was open. They just didn't throw them where the ball needed to be. I don't. If Aziz is standing there wide open, I want you to throw a lob to him.
It's not just that, though. They also did that against Xavier when you were covered and you were getting
they had
balls.
eight lobs against Xavier. They dunked on Xavier's head all day. You're taking the two and magnifying the importance of the two over the 8 that they did hit. If your success rate is 80% on lobs, I'll take that.
I think it was closer to 4 that they had tipped passes on, and that now you're down to 67%.
It's still a pretty damn high percentage. This is a lob team. It's going to be a lob team.
Yep.
Like, you can bitch about it until you're blue in the face on every one that doesn't work.
I love dunks.
They don't. Will you listen to me? They don't have anybody they can throw it to back to the basket to post up and score. So you got to get those points somehow. You're going to get them via the lob. Some of them aren't going to work.
Keegan's apparently uncomfortable when family members fight.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting.
We do this all the time. It's how we communicate.
Next question, Mom.
Brent's more uncomfortable than Keegan is.
Free throw shooting has improved. Is anyone on the staff in particular responsible for this improvement?
Chad Dollar.
Aziz. Because Aziz has gone from a bad free throw shooter to almost automatic. And that takes the percentages from Wolf to not bad, serviceable.
Yeah.
We'll take
to go from 50 to 75 is a monumental jump.
Massive.
Especially
he takes a lot of them.
Yes, exactly.
So it would be on Mike Rayfelt then for allowing Aziz to skip the water breaks. Yeah.
Or whoever calls the water breaks, have more water breaks so Aziz can continue to take free throw practice during water breaks.
Especially because a lot of the free throws he's getting are on lobs where they foul the shit out of him so he doesn't dunk on their head.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because he had like a bad miss against Grambling, and then I was like, this could completely unravel all his progress, and then he just sunk the next one.
How would you know? You didn't even see it. You weren't even watching.
I feel like after Keegan's tweet where it was supposed to be a technical foul, he's been a little on tilt with his takes.
Yeah, I suck.
I mean, Aziz missed horribly. And I look over at Keegan, and he's like in his phone, watching his iPad. I'm like, the game is out here, bro.
I was trying to stay awake.
You said the same thing Aaron did. That game was boring.
Yeah.
He was busy up late watching the Indiana replay. Got him. Do you think CMS's hot start has impacted his shot selection? Yes. Nitpicking here, but he's also a major asset to this offense, creating off the dribble, and he seems to be getting away from that is the last word. That was the only one that didn't fit. That.
No, I don't think it's impacted his shot selection, because if you go back to when he was hot, he was actually taking even more difficult shots than the ones he's been taking lately. They were just going in. So his shot selection, I don't think has changed as much. It's just the number that he's making that has gone down. I would like to, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. I would like to see him drive a little bit more off of pump fakes and being a little more physical if teams are going to close out on him as aggressively as they have been.
Yeah.
He needs to realize you can shoot twos. They do count.
Yeah. I
He
want to
shot
see him
way more free throws.
Yeah. I want to see him
The last
post up
couple
some small guards. Like, I was surprised against Dayton he didn't once take one of those small guards into the post, but
Mouse in the house.
yeah, I'm sure that was kind of that's not really a part of the game plan, but I'm okay with it with whatever shot he takes, if I'm being honest. I've
But
seen,
you gotta
I've seen enough
adapt.
go in at this point, so
All right. Who are some of your favorite all-time players for post-game pressers / interviews, and why is it Dylan Mitchell? That last part wasn't part of the question, but
My all-time favorite was Troy. Troy was fucking hilarious. Like,
yeah.
sense of humor. Like, there was he didn't try to be humble. Like,
Yeah.
he just told you what he thought. You could ask him whatever, and you knew you were gonna get a laugh or two and get a good answer. For me, I think for basketball, it's always going to be Troy. He was great.
Yeah, those are always funny. Watching those, he was always just jabbing people, kind of like similar to what like Dan does.
A little bit, but Dan's not as loquacious as
right.
Troy Copain.
Yeah, and he's not
Like
Troy was not afraid either.
You need a second to look up loquacious.
I was gonna say Dan because you never really know what he's gonna say, but plus he enjoys doing it, and I love those guys where it's not a chore to go up and talk, which is pretty common when we do this. So,
hey, but you don't mess with Renee, Jason.
But I tell you what, Dan's his preseason press conference this year was like, oh man, he is saying some things that probably a lot of people don't want him to say. But
yeah, like, hey, everyone offered me more money.
Right. Yeah,
and Aziz, and CMOS, and Jizzle.
And Jizzle. I'm like, Jesus, man. All right. Relax.
You just see David over in the corner like, ooh.
Oh, Jason, I haven't told this story in a while, real quick. I was at an AAU game. This is one of the first times I ever saw Troy. And his mom is sitting in front of me, and I had either just met her or was like in the process of like getting to know her. And there was like a 14 and under, 13 and under, 14 under team that was like sitting nearby, and she gets very loud and very animated, and they were kind of mocking her, like her cheers, her celebrations. And she basically just turned around to him and was like, "Do you want me to come over there and handle you guys?" And those boys shut up in half a second. Like they got sunned real quick. I didn't say another word the rest of the time. Like I would not mess with Troy's mom. She's one of my favorite people ever. She was great.
Good on her.
She usually comes back like once a year to catch a game.
Love that. Not sure if this is a hot take or not. Doesn't Lander's mom do that, by the way?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Not sure if this is a hot take or not, but I think this team's ceiling is set by how good Aziz is / performs. What do you think this team's ceiling is, and who is the weakest link that needs to perform well for the team to be its best version?
Whew. Have at it, boys. This is a tough one because I go ahead. I'll give mine in a minute.
What do you mean by weakest link? Is that like if they don't perform well, the team doesn't do well, or is it who is not the most important?
It says that they need to perform well for the team to be its best version.
They need to perform well for the team to be. I think that would be Dylan Mitchell. And it's either Dylan Mitchell or Dan, and I'm actually going to switch it to Dan based off what you said about the 3-point shooting, how he impacts the game on the offensive and defensive boards has obviously been noticed since he came back. Then when you add, if he can make 34 or 35% of his threes and be in double figures scoring every game, that puts them over the top. Just because of how vast his skill set is. But if you're going to say Aziz, I would not disagree with you.
Yeah, I just think Aziz just knows his role and does just such a good job at his role, and like he's not going to try and do more than what his role is. You know what I mean? I think those post touches are gone. I think he had one out of necessity against Grambling, but he had 0 against Dayton. So I think Dan just getting his offense back on track is my thought for this, because I just think, for as good as CMOS is, I think that, as long as you get Jizzle doing his part, Dan is just like, Dan has the chance to be the best player on the team. And I don't think you can say that about a lot of players on the team. I don't think Aziz necessarily has the ability to be the best player on the team. So I think it's Dan.
I'm going to say
shooting offense.
I'm going to say Dylan, because if he is able to put together a 16 to 18 foot jumper in the conference play, look, I know
it's just going to magically appear.
Well, this is what Chad is talking about. He wants to see him do some different things like that. It's not that it's not in his repertoire. He's taking threes. He damn sure can shoot a shorter shot than threes. So I think that if you're able to do some different things with Dylan, though, that opens up everything for everybody else, because I truly think that Dylan, I know that Brent just got done saying that Dan can be the best player. I think that Dylan can be the best player on this team. And I think that if he's able to create a shot outside of just being in the paint or just the maybe once a game 3, then I think that changes everything for the offense.
So I don't think there is a right answer here, because I think what we are seeing now, and it's the first time since that team that had Jake and Gary and Jake and Gary and Kyle and Jaron. The difference being it's like a recipe, right? Like you've been tinkering with the recipe for like 4 seasons now, and now you finally got the recipe right. And if you take out one of the ingredients, the recipe's not right anymore. Like, this is not like, SK's senior year where it was SK, Jack and Titus were like the supporting cast. But like, if any one of those guys was removed, they're like, that team would have fallen off a cliff. And you saw it at the end of the year. Justin's shoulder was messed up, and that team was nowhere near what they were before. This one, I think specifically, like it's a compliment to each other, and any one of those 5 or 6 main ingredients, if you take it out, the recipe's messed up. Like it doesn't taste the same. It's not as good, and you probably don't want to eat it. So that they weren't the same with Dan, but I think if they lost, like after the first game, if they lost Dylan for 5 weeks, and then Dylan came back, we would go, oh man, look how much better they are with Dylan. Same with Jizzle, same with CMOS, same with Aziz. Like, I think they all kind of have equal importance, which is where you want to be as a team. You're going to have a best player or whatever, but in your role, you want everybody's role to kind of carry the same weight. And I think this team is kind of at that level when they have everybody healthy and playing kind of, at their level. Plus, when you've got 5 or 6 guys that are essentially all of the same importance, 1 or 2 guys can have an off night, and the other 3 guys can carry the load. And, I think it's an important part of like why this team has success or is having success.
All right. Curious on the financials of buy games. Is it less expensive to schedule games with SWAC schools, generally ranked 250 to 350, than potential MAC or Conference USA teams that may have better metrics? Thinking about ways to have a better non-conference schedule, even without scheduling a lot of P4 games.
So, Neil, think of it like business, right? Like those MAC or CUSA teams that have better metrics, they're going to want more money for buy games than those SWAC schools that are ranked 250 to 350. There's more value in those games. Those games are going to be more expensive to get those teams to come and play on your home floor. So, yes, it is more expensive to buy better teams than it is to buy the bad teams.
Because those teams think they deserve home and homes instead of just buying.
MAC teams don't want home and homes. MAC teams
I know.
want buy.
Want the money, but I'm just saying, like
or
the
2-1
schools, the better schools,
or 2-1. But yeah,
no, because that's a year that they're not getting
money.
150 or whatever the cost is for a buy game in basketball now. I know it used to be 100, 120. I just assume it's continued to go up. So if you want to get one of those really good teams, it's probably going to cost you what 2 SWAC schools are going to cost, maybe 3.
Just ask Chuck Martin; he'll fill you in.
And that's right, Jason. You don't need to buy better teams when you play in this conference.
What grade would you give the non-con Coon AP? We did that one. Moving on. What is Jeff Goodman's issue with UC, Chad? You guys are besties.
I think it's what you see from national guys that have to do this every day. They take a stance on something and they decide that that stance doesn't they're not going to come off of it very easy. So when UC lost to Villanova, he took the stance that UC didn't schedule well enough and that he was not going to give them respect until they proved it in the Big 12. That's what you're seeing. So, I think there probably needs to be a little bit more wiggle room in a situation like where they beat Dayton on a neutral floor with a 50-50 crowd and never trailed even for a second. They led the entire way. I think you got to look at that and say, okay, maybe I think Dayton is a little bit higher than Cincinnati in terms of, a ranking and metrics, but to have Dayton easily into your top 25 and then, 6, 7, 8 teams and you still don't see Cincinnati, I don't think that's the right way to go about it, but it's Jeff's top 25. And guess what? They do those things for engagement, boys and girls. They want people to talk about it. So it helps to have a controversial take or two that's going to get fan bases talking because, like I said about bracketology last night on Twitter, if everybody looked at your bracketology and went, that's reasonable, looks pretty good, nobody's going to click on that shit. That's boring. Nobody wants to talk about, that's acceptable. I think you did a good job there. Have you paid attention to Twitter? Nobody on Twitter has ever been like, good work. I think that's pretty good, actually.
And that's why 7-5 North Carolina is all over everybody's top 25. Well done. What are your thoughts on the white walls on the south side of the arena? There needs to be a mural or something. It's way too dull.
I don't have any thoughts on the white walls on the south side of the arena. I have never
We're
thought
talking
about
about
it.
walls?
Walls?
On the
Talking about
BBP?
walls? On the BBP? Walls?
Not
How
Christmas.
old were you?
Not
How-
Christmas.
Yeah, you know what? I'll
Not
just shut up.
Christmas.
I'll shut up because I'm 24 years old and I can't provide anything of
But
substance
walls.
to this podcast. I will shut up.
I'm just trying to understand. Like that was like 2008 when he did that.
It's way before then, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know. Brent, you lived in Indy for a long time. When did that?
In Indy? We were just doing the
Oh, that was AI.
Allen
I was
Iverson.
thinking the playoffs.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2002, May 7th, 2002. I knew it was way before
Man.
2008. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. UCats 111. That's never something that has crossed my mind, and it probably never will again. I don't think of stuff like that. I don't. It doesn't.
Ask it next year, UCats 111. Make it a thing. Make Chad have to think about things he doesn't want to think about. What do we need to change or improve for our offensive ranking to get closer to our defensive rating?
Make more shots.
28% ain't gonna cut it.
Whenever you see Ken Palm saying that he predicts you're going to score 74 in that game, score 79. And then in the next one, do you think you're going to score 72? Score 79. And then just keep outperforming what they expect, and then you're going to see things go up.
Why are the defensive metrics great? Because they have not let a team score 70 all season. And if they say they're going to score, if Kim Palm predicts they're going to score 68 and they score 54, then you look like one of the best defensive teams in the country if you do that consistently. The same holds true for offense.
And the last question in the mailbag on the show that Brent said was going to be short and sweet because it was a holiday week and we're 2.5 hours in. Which Big 12 teams scare you this year, assuming UC stays healthy? Any really bad
This is
matchups?
a great topic for next week because there will be no game to talk about, and we can take a look at the Big 12 schedule that's coming up.
Let's get deep in the weeds.
Yes, that'll be good next week. But Keegan, you probably won't be on next week. Do you have one?
In terms of like
matchups,
body types.
You're Mr. 15-5, so
I think Houston is really, really good. They have that. What?
Houston, we have a problem, or is that too?
That's too old for me. I wasn't old then. I don't know what that means.
When did he say that? In like the 40s? Go ahead.
I think Kansas has a big man that can go up against Aziz and give him trouble. So that's obviously going to be a tough one. And then Houston has basically dominated Cincinnati, and that arena is really, really tough. So I'm going to go with Kansas and Houston. They still have your boy, Aaron, your favorite player on an opposing team.
He isn't the Houston player who bit someone else, but yeah, he's been there since that guy was there.
Aaron's favorite player in college basketball is out for the year, unfortunately.
Oh, dang.
Pop Isaacs.
Pop Isaacs.
You do love Pop Isaacs, don't you?
That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
What is that? Santa Claus is on his way. What a show, guys.
You're not doing the Banks question?
There wasn't one when I checked.
Which ex-coaches does Chad have the best relationship with? Top 3, basketball and football. Number 1. My favorite is
not X is in Xavier, but X is in former coaches.
But he does have good relationship with former Xavier coaches.
I do. I have a decent relationship with Chris Mack, with Travis Steele. I've never really interacted with Sean Miller. So
Sweaty Sean.
I don't have any relationship with Sean Miller.
Your daughter has.
She doesn't like it. He gave her a dirty look. She looked at me and said, "Who the fuck was that?"
Sweaty Sean.
Sweaty Sean. So that's the Xavier head coach. So I fucking hate him. Good girl. You want some ice cream? Do you want some ice cream? Good girl. Easy number 1 for me is Mike Denbrock. I love Mike Denbrock. Like that's my guy. I was told I was funny. Tom Loy, who covered Notre Dame, he's now a national guy for 24/7. he called me when Luke was in the process of hiring Denbrock, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna tell you now, this will be your favorite coach you've ever worked with," and it
Freeman.
absolutely was.
Freeman.
Huh?
You said when
Freeman
Luke
was hiring Denbrock.
No. Before Denbrock came here as the offensive coordinator, Tom Lloyd called me and told me, "This is going to be your favorite coach you've ever
I
worked
thought you
with."
were saying like the opposite way around. As
No.
going
Lloyd
back
knew it. Like, he was at Notre Dame.
before.
Remember,
yeah.
he got scapegoated by Brian Kelly and let him go.
Yeah.
He wasn't at UC before with Kelly?
No. He was a Notre Dame
I
guy.
thought he was. Okay.
No, he was a Notre Dame guy. And then Kelly kept him at Notre Dame. So Denbrock, number one. I still have a good relationship with Luke. I still have a good relationship with Mick. Like, I do my best not to burn bridges, because you never know when it comes back around and you're going to be, dealing with that person again, or you're going to need something from them, or they worked with somebody and you want to get an opinion on that person as they're coming in. So I generally keep great relationships. But yeah, Denbrock would be an easy number one. As like assistant coaches, Darren Savino and I are still really tight. During the off season, we'll talk once or twice a month, and have long phone conversations, just catching up and see how each other's doing. Those would probably be my top two. Mike Mickens was always great to me. Pat Lambert was always great to me.
Mick is the answer. Mick. It is Mick.
Mick's definitely up there.
You've gotten tickets to UCLA games with Mick as number 3. I don't know that anyone would be over Mick. You go hang out with his dad when you're watching games.
I do. I have good relationships with a lot of people. Mick is
am
way up
one.
there. Mick is way up there for sure. Luke is way up there.
I would not call them the same in the conversations we've had.
I'd say they're pretty close. I mean, Mick obviously, like, I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Mick, because he actually allowed me to be around the program and like get a level of access that nobody had at that point in time. And it was a big part of like why Bearcat Journal actually had, traction and started to become a thing. So yeah, Mick's way up the top of the list. Like, but there's other guys I've had great relationships with as well. So there's probably a group of like 5, and Mick's absolutely in that group, up near the top. Denbrock was my favorite though, just because he's hilarious.
All right. There's the mailbag. Brent, get us out of here.
Oh,
You already did that.
I know, but
Sorry, I stole your moment.
Yes, but hey, guys, Santa Claus is coming to town. Christmas is here. Enjoy the time off. BCJ Pod coming to you on Thursday night. BBP coming to you special Sunday night edition next week, because the next sports game on the calendar is the Bearcats basketball team taking on K-State next Monday night. So we're gonna have all things to break down there. The portal's gonna be still rocking and rolling, but you know what? Everyone enjoy the time.
Brent, let Royer know Sunday next week.
I'll text. I'm gonna text the group right now, and text him separately as well. But hey, guys, big shouts to Danco Transmission Out of Care. Big shouts to Quick Paper Supply. Big shouts to New Riffin with Royer, and also, of course, all this was brought to you in the City Light Studios. Shouts to them too. But for the guys, the crew, the squad, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Keegan Nicholson, thanks for hopping in. I am Brent Young, getting at another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.